Welcome everyone to another Battlefront 2 video here on the channel. Today we're going to be looking at the best star cards for each hero and villain in Battlefront 2 for heroes versus villains. Now I've been playing this game since the beta and I have a lot of playtime on every single hero and villain, so I think I've got a pretty good idea on what the best star card setups are for each of the characters in this game. And like I said, this is going to be specifically for heroes versus villains. If you want to see one for Galactic Assault, Supremacy, or a Hero Showdown version as well, because that is slightly different, then let me know down in the comments below, show your support on this video. And yeah, with all that out of the way, we're just going to start off with Boba Fett because he's the first one. Just before we get started with today's video as well, I want to shout out Picos or Picos. I'm not too sure how to pronounce his name. But the reason I want to shout this guy out is because this video on screen here, where he talks about the hidden benefits for each star card, this was a massive help for this video. I would highly recommend watching this video if you haven't already. He goes through every single star card in the game and details hidden features or ones that just flat out don't work. We are just going to go in order of the hero screen here, and we are going to start off with Boba Fett. The first one that I recommend using is Born to Fly, which reduces the cooldown of his abilities by 20%. Next up we have Focalize, which increases the damage of the rocket barrage within a 1 meter radius by 10 for each rocket. And finally, we have either Acute Concussion, which concusses the enemy for an extra 2 seconds. Or if you're not that good at managing Boba Fett's jetpack fuel, you can use either Quick Refill, which refills faster by 15%, or you can use Fuel Efficiency, which burns slower by 15%. So either way, you're getting a 15% increase. You can use either of them in place of Acute Concussion if you want to. I do have a lot of time on Boba, so I know how to manage my fuel quite well. But if you are new to him and you're just trying to get the basics, I would recommend replacing Acute Concussion with one of those two. But next up we have Bossk. Now Bossk is a very straightforward one. The best star cards are these three. First one is Name Your Poison. You get an extra 30 health per second while you're standing inside Dioxis. The interesting thing with Bossk is that he doesn't get health on kill and his health regen is a lot slower, and the reason that is because he can regen up to max indefinitely. So every other hero in this game can only regen a certain amount, but Bossk can go from 1 to 600 all the time. But like I say, his health regen is a lot slower than other characters, so having this card on makes it just a lot quicker. Next up we have Trap Arming Speed, which arms and activates the mines faster by 60%, so you can literally just throw the mines down and they just activate really quickly. And the final one is Multi-Traps, which adds an extra 2 proximity mines to the ability, and they have a 25% increase in the destination area, so it just makes the mines a lot better. Next up we have Chewbacca. Once again, a very straightforward loadout for me. The first star card is bonus health, 150 bonus health. Next up we have Impervious, which basically means every single time you do 200 damage with an ability, so you can use either your Slam or your Furious Bowcaster, you gain an extra 2% damage reduction overall, up to a maximum of 34%. So this is going to be really effective if you can stay alive for a decent amount of time, because the 34% damage reduction is unheard of, and that is insanely powerful for Chewie. The final star card is Shocked and Vulnerable, which adds a 9% damage vulnerability to anybody shocked by your grenade. You might be wondering why I'm not using Extended Shock. Now, once again, mention that video from the beginning of the video. This one is actually completely bugged. Apparently, the added shock duration is only 20%, and it adds an extra 50% recharge time onto the ability, which in my opinion is just a waste of time. I'd rather have it more frequently. Next up, Darth Vader. My lineup might be a bit controversial to other people's. The first one is Furious Resilience, which gives him a 25% damage reduction on Focused Rage. Second star card is Bonus Health, just an extra 150 damage. This takes Vader up to 950 health, which is just absurd. And the final star card is Fueling the Rage, and this basically adds an extra 6 seconds onto Focus Rage, but it adds a 5 damage penalty. Now, the reason why I back this card over something like Last Gasp, Punishing Grip, other ones that people might use, you've got to bear in mind what Focus Rage does for Vader. It gives him a 25% damage reduction because of the first star card that we use, and it makes his stamina costs less, I think by like half maybe, and it gives him a damage buff as well. All of that for an extra 6 seconds, and all you lose is 5 damage. That's it. And you gain a damage buff while using Focus Rage anyway, so realistically you're just getting a slightly less damage buff while using this ability, and you just get a flat out 6 seconds extra. In my opinion, it's a very good star card for Vader. Next up is the Tickle Monster himself, Palpatine here. Very straightforward once again. First one is Lightning Reach, which makes his lightning attacks have a 30% increased range. Once again, this is going to be a really good one if you can stay alive long in HvV. You need to hit at least 2 people with each chain lightning, and the extra 1 counts as a 0.25 reduction to your cooldown up to 5 seconds. So if you can get to the point where you're just spamming chain lightning, it's very strong. And the final star card is In Full Control, which just means his lightning attacks drain less stamina. Next up, we have Han Solo, and his star cards are very straightforward. Air Burst, which is giving him a 20% damage increase to detonite charge if detonated in the air. Next up, we have Smuggler's Wits. Han Solo gains an extra roll, but all the cooldowns of his abilities are increased by only 2 seconds. This is a must, in my opinion. This is easily his best star card. And finally, we have Heavily Modified Blaster, which means he can just shoot his DL-44 for 25% longer. Very straightforward. Next up, we have probably one of the most annoying characters to 1v1 in HvV, and that's Iden Versio. First star card here is Alternative Methods. You can use your ult fire 25% more frequently, which is by far the best thing about Iden, by the way. Secondly, we have Droid Batteries, which means that Stun Droid and Droid Shield both have decreased recharge time by 25%. Obviously, this is for the stun droid. Nobody uses droid shield unironically in HvV. And finally, we have Cold Blaster, which means that the TL50 builds 15% less heat while shooting. Okay, next up we have Kylo Ren, and the first star card is actually really interesting. So, whenever Kylo Ren is in close proximity of another villain, he gains bonus damage and gets a damage reduction. Now, the problem with this star card is that it's actually bugged. So, the way that it reads is that it's in close proximity of another villain, which you would assume is any dark side character. However, this is only for Force users and lightsaber characters. So you have Darth Vader, Darth Maul, Palpatine, Grievous, Dooku. I think that's everyone, isn't it? Yeah, basically anyone who uses the Force or is a lightsaber user on the dark side. So any blaster hero and BB9E, this doesn't apply. I don't know why that's the case. That it just is. Now, the reason I still run this star card is because the people I play with pretty much always play lightsaber heroes, or we've always at least got 2. So it's worth using this card. But if you don't want to use this card, I would say either this card here, or either of these 2 cards are worth using. Now, the next 2 cards for Kylo, which I would definitely use. The first one is Power of Darkness, which means after using Frenzy, for 6 seconds, you get a 14 damage buff to your lightsaber strikes. And the second one is Bloodlust, which means that Kylo Ren does more damage with his Frenzy. Next up here, we have Lando, with probably some of the most useless star cards I've ever seen on a character. The first one is Hot and Cold, which gives him 150 bonus health, which is a great card. The second one here is Quick Shock, which is actually bugged. It's really badly bugged, actually. So the description reads, if the disabler is detonated within 5 seconds of attaching to a surface, the shock explosion is stronger and enemies are shocked for a longer duration. Now, the first thing is that the added duration of the purple segment is actually not 30%. I believe it's 25. And the second thing that's wrong with this is that it's not within 5 seconds, it's after 5 seconds of using this ability. So just to reiterate, after 5 seconds of the disabler being on the floor, you then get the 25% added shock duration. It's not within, it's the opposite, which is really annoying because most of the time you're using this ability, you're using it when a lightsaber hero rushes you want to throw it down in a quick panic and get the shock off and deal a lot of damage. However, there's literally no other good star cards for Lando at all, so I still run this one. And finally, we have Wide-Eyed, which means that Sharp Shot can target enemies from a longer distance. Not a big deal there. Leia Organa, probably the most annoying character in Heroes vs Villains, is next up. First star card is High Spirit. She can regenerate 100 more health, straightforward. Secondly, we have Rebel Heart, which means that she gets a 25% damage reduction while wielding the E11, as if that ability wasn't already annoying. And the final star card is Relentless Firing. The E11 can fire for 55% longer. Luke Skywalker's next, and the first star card is Epicenter, which deals a bonus 40 damage within half of its radius. And the interesting thing to note about this is that the bonus 40 damage actually goes through blocks, so it doesn't do the entire damage of repulse, but that extra 40 damage in that half little circle there actually deals through blocks, which is really useful. The second star card is Intensify, so every trooper defeated or 200 damage to villains, Luke gets an extra 2 damage to his lightsaber swings, up to 36 extra damage, which is really helpful. And finally, we have Rush Immunity, which gives him an extra 15% damage reduction for 3 seconds after using Rush. Now, if you are on a map where you want to push people off, Stronger Push is very funny. Next up, we have Darth Maul, and once again, he probably has some of the weaker star cards for a lightsaber hero. The first one is Fool Me Once, which we'll talk about in a little bit. The second one is Flow Motion, which means that Darth Maul can do an extra spin attack, but the recharge rate is slightly slower by 10%, which is why we use Fool Me Once, because that increases the recharge rate by 10%, so that kind of negates that. And the final star card is Accelerated Throw, which just deals 20 more damage to his lightsaber throw. Once again, if you are on a map where you can throw people off, Forceful Thrust is incredible. It's so funny. Next up, we have Rey, and the first star card is Damaging Strike, which is supposed to deal more damage with Dash Strike for each target that is hit. So you would assume that after the first target, you start getting 30% extra damage, but you actually just get this off rip. So as soon as you hit the first person, you get 30% extra damage, which makes this an incredible star card. Next up, we have Focus Sight, which means Insight lasts 7 seconds longer, which is great because you gain bonus damage. You can see enemies through walls, and you get, I think, a stamina reduction as well. And finally, we have Opportunist, which means that Rey deals bonus damage to enemies affected by Mind Trick, an extra 15 damage, actually. The Cum Goblin is next on the chopping block, and his first star card is Agility, which is the same as Darth Maul's. He gets 1 extra dash strike, but 10% slower recharge rate. Opposing the Dark Side, which means he does an extra 16 damage just to heroes, which is very straightforward. And finally, we have Feel the Force, which gives him an extra 60 health with Presence. Next up, we have Finn, and the first star card is In Charge. So during Undercover Team, Finn will grant a damage reduction of 2% for each trooper defeated, or 100 damage to villains to a maximum of 36%, which is a pretty good card because you get 36% damage reduction. That's kind of the main takeaway from this card. Next up, we have No More Running, which says after 3 kills with Deadeye, its damage is increased by 12, but this actually just works straight away, so cool. And finally, Finn's Deadeye has a larger lock-on radius by 25%. Very straightforward. Ugh, I hate you. Let's make this quick. Safety first. Captain Phasma gains more health while using Survivor, an extra 60 health, which is a great bonus. Next up, Come Closer. After Captain Phasma defeats 3 enemies while the droid is active, its shock radius is increased by 50%, which is insane. I'm not sure if this means you can only have 1 life with the droid, or it's just until Captain Phasma dies. I'm not entirely sure, but a 50% increase in the shock radius is incredible. And finally, we have Not Hard Enough, which gives her a 50% damage reduction while Survivor is active. Next up, we have General Grievous, who's probably my favorite character in this game. And the first star card is Beating Heart, which gives him an increased health regen of 100. Next up, we have probably one of the best star cards in the game, and that's Flesh is Weak. For every 10% of health missing, Grievous gains damage reduction, but his health regen speed is halved. The damage reduction he gets is 5%, which I think makes his health total up around about 1,000, which is incredible. And finally, we have Jedi Killer, which means that Grievous can target enemies further away by 50% while using Thrust Surge. I personally love this star card and can't go without it, but if you don't want to use this one, you can use Line Up Weaklings instead. This one is also bugged, where it says after 1 enemy has been hit, Grievous does 50 more damage with Claw Rush. That's actually not the case. This works as soon as you use Claw Rush, so you just gain an extra 50 damage, which is cool. Next up, we have everyone's favorite Rage Baiter and Aura Farmer, which is Obi-Wan Kenobi. His first star card is Jedi Resilience, which gives him an extra 100 health regen. Secondly, we have Safeguard, which means after blocking 5 blaster shots, 2 abilities, or 2 lightsaber attacks with his block, Obi-Wan gains a permanent reduction of 2% to all his stamina costs to a maximum of 40%. This is a great star card because, like it says, it increases his stamina cost reduction up to 40%, and all you have to do is block, which is what you'll be doing as Obi-Wan anyway. So, and personally, I love Forward, which does an extra 40 damage with his defensive rush. However, if you don't want to use this and you want to become a blocking machine, you can just use Perfect Defense, which gives him another 40% reduction to his stamina. Okay, next we have Count Dooku, and his star card lineup is very straightforward to me. The first one is an increase to his health regen by 120. Next up, we have Initiative, which means every 15 seconds, Count Dooku's basic attack will be a critical strike, which does an extra 50 damage. And with every successful strike while using this star card, you get a reduction of 1 second. I don't know if this stacks up to a maximum of like 10 seconds or something, or you can just have it where every second you gain an extra 50 damage, but regardless, this is a really strong star card. And finally, we have Masterful Duelist, which means that Dooku deals 20 more damage while Duelist is active, making this an even stronger ability than it already was. Next up, we have the Chosen One, and the first star card I use I think is essential, and that is Steamroll. So for every enemy trooper defeated or 200 damage damage to villains. Anakin gets a reduction to his stamina costs by 2% up to a maximum of 40. Now this is an essential star card in my opinion because the biggest weak point of Anakin is his stamina, so any opportunity to reduce the stamina costs, I will take it. Next up we have Attraction, which means that Pull Dominance has a greater range. Once you start using this star card, you'll never stop using it, just trust me on that. And finally we have either Raw Strength, which increases the Heroic Might base damage by 50, or you can use Tenacious, which increases his health by 100. And last but probably least, we have the droids. The first one is BB-8, and the first star card is extra health regen by 100. Secondly, we have Whirlwind, which increases the radius and the damage of Cable Spin. And finally, we have Spinner, which means that if you hit 2 enemies while using this star card, you gain an extra 10 seconds on your cooldown. And finally, we have BB-9E. The first star card is once again an extra 100 health regen. Secondly, for every 4 successful stuns while using BB-9E's Shock Prod, you gain an extra 1 damage up to a maximum of 8, which is a pretty nice damage buff. And finally, we have Faster, which means if Shock Spin hits multiple targets, its damage is doubled for the remaining active time. Now, if you want to push people off the map and be a scumbag with BB-9E, I recommend Spin Me Round, which means you get to push people by an extra 4 meters. So there we go. There's the best star cards for every hero and villain in Battlefront 2 for heroes versus villains. If you found this video useful and you enjoyed, make sure you leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more Battlefront 2 videos. And like I said, if you want to see this video for Galactic Assault, Supremacy, Hero Showdown, I'll be more than happy to create another one. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.